usual. The message that we're talking about is quite open. So the message that we're talking about here is in some ways a bit unusual compared to a lot of other sort of messages or teachings that people have experience with. And basically the biggest difference is going to be that this message is actually not about you. It's not about you learning anything. It's not about becoming something. The message doesn't come from any sort of recognition that there's a need for anything to happen. The recognition is that intrinsically this appearance has no need. A need arises, I understand that, to eat and whatever else and walk and move, but it has no intrinsic need, nor does it have any intrinsic lack. So it's not there's actually nothing missing in the appearance. Whatever's happening is it's not a demand. So the message has no demand, nor does the appearance have any intrinsic demand in what's happening. So if that's true, what is this? If it has no demand and no expectation and no intrinsic need, well, it's free. It's freedom, but like already. So whatever's happening, that's freedom. It's not a freedom for you, because of course the message isn't about you, nor is the whole appearance actually. But it's an unconditional freedom. Whatever's happening is exactly that freedom. And because there's no intrinsic need or expectation or demand of the appearance, it's already unconditionally love. It's already complete. It's not becoming complete. It's not trying to become anything. This appearance actually isn't trying to become anything. It is already. Now that's not a suggestion of something to do or not to do. It's just that whatever happens is simply what's happening. And if there's an experience that it comes out of a lack or a need or a demand, then that's an illusion. That's the message. That's an illusion. The illusion is that the appearance isn't complete, that this isn't free, that there is something that needs to happen, and it's up to me to do it. Now, what we're talking about here is that experience is illusory. So in the illusion, in the sense that when or if it stops happening, it doesn't actually stop as an activity that was happening that ends. It's recognized that it never was happening, that the experience that there's some sort of demand or lack in the appearance was completely illusory, that the experience that was happening was real and happening to me, completely illusory, that there's something that I am in control, that I have a life of meaning and purpose that needs to become to find happiness, is completely illusory. Illusory in the sense that it's not happening. It's like not happening now. I understand there might be that experience out there going, well, it's happening to me. And the suggestion is, yeah, I understand that, and it's an illusion. So there's no way to get something that's really not happening to stop happening. So this meeting isn't about the end of that. This meeting is simply partly a description of that experience of separation, the qualities that it has and the activities that it takes on trying to overcome the experience of separation, and a pointing to what this is without that experience. So the end of the individual, the end of that need, isn't the satisfaction of all the expectations of the individual. So this is a dissatisfying message as well. It doesn't give you what you're looking for. It's not trying to either. All the expectations and all the questions about what this is about, what I need to do, who am I, what's the meaning and purpose of my life, that seem to demand answers, they all disappear when the questioner disappears. There was never a real need to have any answers. There isn't actually a real question to this. That just comes out of the illusory experience of something needing to happen or separation. It's already over. It's beginning and over simultaneously. Now, that's it. Now is a little misleading because there isn't anything else, but this is that. This is that. The beginning and end of everything. It's not coming from anywhere. So anything you think of when I say that about the past, this is where I came from, I walked down the stairs to get to this room. That's this. That's the beginning endlessness appearing as a memory of the past. No evidence that anything else has ever happened, because nothing ever really does. Seems to, but not really. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's basically a good summary of the concepts, which we can talk about. If you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the chance. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, actually I wrote my question down because my English is not very good.
Okay.
But it's not so long. So what is my understanding? Then there is nobody who could make any progression about anything. And but there is a contraction of the body, but nobody can make anything to dissolve this contraction. Or is happening or not happening, nobody knows. It's just, but in Jim body it's happened, and in Aniko's body maybe it never happened.
Yeah.
So if this contraction is never dissolved in this body, in Aniko's, does it mean then this identification with the body is always building up itself automatically again and again?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not really fair.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
Nothing to do.
Well, there's no one to do it.
No one to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So can you just say anything about this?
Well, there's one thing that you said which wouldn't really quite exactly fit with what I would say. It didn't happen here.
Oh.
There's something happening there that's not happening here anymore. But this didn't achieve anything. It didn't get anything.
Yeah. But okay, so in Jim body something
stopped happening.
Yeah.
But it stopped happening, but what stopped happening was revealed not to be happening.
Revealed not to be happening.
Yeah, so nothing really stopped because there isn't anything really happening. That's the reason I say there isn't anybody there.
Yeah.
And the experience that something needs to happen is an illusion because it's already not happening. Nothing needs to stop.
Okay, so what is the difference between your body and my body?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, but
I'm a guy. I'm a man. It looks like I'm a guy and you're a girl.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I know.
Yeah. I'm being silly. Yeah.
I'm just, but there was a realization.
Well, I really wouldn't call it a realization. It really is sort of the paradox of the whole thing comes down to, did something happen here that needs to happen there? And the answer is no. There's something that stopped happening here that never actually happened. So there's no such thing as liberation, but there is the experience there that something needs to happen. And that is the only difference, is that there's an experience, something needs to happen.
Okay, but if nothing needs to happen, so
nothing needs to happen.
Yeah, but why we are sitting here now and speaking about this?
Because you think something needs to happen.
So if I understand that nothing needs to happen, is enough?
No, understanding, it's not really about understanding.
It's not, but I cannot do anything because I am not exist.
No, there isn't a you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things happen, but there's no way to get closer to what we're talking about. And at the same time, there's no way to get further away. There's only an illusory experience that there's a further away from this. There never is.
I understand, but okay. I just about this contraction in the body, because it seems then this contraction can make some solution about all this. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
No, well, there's nothing anybody could do about it.
Yeah. So
The only one that would want to do something about it is the experience that it
yeah,
shouldn't be there, that something
yeah.
needs to happen.
I see. But so what to do? Nothing to do.
No, it is truly hopeless.
It's truly hopeless.
Yeah.
So, but it's not make me really happy now. It's
No, this is not a happy message.
no.
No,
And that's it.
that's it. Yeah.
Whatever I will ask, yeah, the answer will be just the same.
No, that's not necessarily true. Questions often come from a different space. So another question might be coming from a different place. And so the answer would be different. And in the end, it's not really about the words. So you can't predict that now you're going to decide not to do something because it's hopeless, because there isn't anybody there to choose.
Yeah.
But it's still hopeless.
It's quite nice. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Zabi, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I just want to say thank you. Just because questions don't arise anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. And
thanks.
Yeah, thank you for, a parent for this individual, like, and traveling lighter. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah.
I watched all your videos, and I used to not even be like, I was never able to sit. And then now everything seems to be quieting down. And
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. It's the message, it's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Igor.
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
So I want to ask about, so you often talk about knowing and unknowing.
Yeah.
And so I had this question. Let's suppose I take a piece of paper and just draw random lines on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I show it to someone else, and I'll tell them that I drew something, but you need to guess. So there is going to be a good chance that the person will guess something, and that the person will really see some picture in these random lines. Not often, but it will happen more often than expected, I think. And so at this moment, some knowing will happen about this picture. And at this instant moment, all lines on this paper will have a meaning and will have a purpose. And also, as a painter, I will start feeling confined by this meaning, by this knowledge. Say, if it's a face, I will no longer be able to just add another random line.
Yeah, yeah.
I will need to, draw hair or nose.
Yeah, yeah.
So is this kind of thing that you're talking about, but with reality?
I didn't hear the last thing. Is it reality?
So, and what I'm asking is that we can see that there is some.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
I get what you're saying, and it's very simple. If we say you're looking at the computer screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the difference we're talking about is when there's that experience of separation, the computer screen is going to be known. It's going to be a fixed reality, because a fixed reality is going to be looking at it.
Yeah. So, and I guess my question is that unknowing that you're talking about is of the same quality as this, knowing and unknowing with this piece of paper experiment?
No. I'm really talking about something completely different, actually, because the knowing I'm talking about is the experience of I am in the body, I am real, and what's happening is real and part of a real context. That's the knowing. Because recognizing a face You don't need anybody to know anything for that. That's just something that seems to happen. There doesn't need to be an individual to recognize a face. Just like there doesn't need to be an individual for words to appear or for questions to be asked or, yeah.
Okay, so knowing still happens.
Not in the way I'm talking about, no. Not as a centered, real experience. No, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
that happens.
Okay.
That only happens for the individual.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it like doesn't mean anything to me, but
No.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how it feels really, but
No,
yeah,
nobody can.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah, thank you. But really, thanks for this message, because it's kind of it's going to be around. So, but like I usually notice that whenever I get into some social groups, like any kind of social groups, not necessarily spiritual, but I usually start to evaluate myself according to them. Like, I do something, and there is somewhere in the background of my mind, like, I wonder what these guys will think about it. Like, should I meditate for like 10 hours? Should I meditate for 0 hours? Never meditate? All sorts of things. It's not always very important, but it's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And it's recently when I started to like hearing this kind of extreme non-dual messages, and this process starts to happen. I wonder what this extreme non-dual guys think about how long I meditate and whether or not I'm doing it right. And I just realized that they just don't care.
No, well, it doesn't matter.
And yes, and it's such a freedom, really.
Yeah,
it's not a big thing, and it's really
no. Well, it is kind of big, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't help me. Like, it's still someone here, and it's still a lot of suffering, and it's still a mess. Yeah. But it's nice. It's refreshing.
Great.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim.
Hey.
Hey, I had a question about, you said there's no cause and effect going on. So if there's a wholeness, I'm guessing that because it's just, there's no concept of time, but in the illusory area of time, is it because because it's just one thing or oneness or wholeness that it can only move as one? That there are no other separate moving parts?
So the appearance of cause and effect seems to happen. There seems to be cause and effect.
Right. So.
Right. And time seems to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just not real.
Okay.
So it's not an illusion. It's not an illusion. Right. The only illusion is that you know what this is.
Okay.
That you have a real continuum through time. And there's a few things that come with that. That experience has a few other illusory qualities with it. That's the only illusion.
So if the me experiences the world through our five senses, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if the me doesn't exist, means that the center doesn't really exist.
Absolutely.
So is it just a bunch of inputs with some memories attached? Is this entire thing just, person is actually not
of ownership of that. So it doesn't really have ownership of it. That's an illusion. So there's still five senses when there isn't any one.
So is this wholeness just a bunch of inputs, experiences going on? I mean, in reality, is it just the perceptions being gathered? So of billions of people or animals or whatever, is it just the experiencing going on?
Yeah.
And so within that, go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it experiencing. Experiencing is another word for me for separation. There's actually no experiencer. That's a dream. And what's left when there's no experiencer is this. There aren't billions of people. There's a thinking or thoughts of billions of people, but there's what appears. And that is nothing. The appearance is actually nothing. appearing. And that's the end of it. That's just the end of it.
That's even more confusing. Okay. This is like chasing your own tail. My goodness.
I actually don't find the concepts very confusing. Trying to apply them, trying to add them onto things that I think I know makes it very confusing. But the concepts themselves are I find very straightforward and simple. This is everything, and it doesn't need to become. It's not becoming. There's an illusory experience that says it's separate and has an intrinsic need, and that's an illusion.
I guess I'm trying to find a way for the undoing, I guess.
Oh, totally. That's the confusion. There is no way, because there isn't anything that needs to happen. The whole of the individual is the experience that something needs to happen for this to be whole. That is the experience of separation, because it is already whole. It couldn't be made whole because it is already. It can only be the illusory experience that it isn't. And when that ends, it's recognized there is only wholeness. It's never been different.
In a way, it's a relief that is hopeless. I don't know why I'm saying that, but some level, I'm really happy that the mind can never make sense of all this, because I think that would be maybe terrible, is my sense, that if the mind could actually grasp this, I think maybe it would be really a terrible thing.
Yeah, well, it can't, so.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, thanks, Anu.
So, hi Tony.
Hi.
We're here in Munich. Your full name is Tony Parson.
Parsons.
Oh, Parsons. And you kind of give talks to people in the UK and also internationally.
Yeah.
You read some books also.
Yes.
Yeah. People who are interested can find them on your website. Yeah. And you kind of teach the open secret message.
I communicate the open secret. Okay. I'm not a teacher.
Okay.
And the open secret message is not a teaching.
Okay, so here's my first question to you. You know, I sometimes hear we have everything within us. And is there anything we need to learn? Is there anything we need to be taught?
No, but all I have to say, there isn't anything that needs to be learned or taught, and there isn't an us to have anything in it.
Okay.
This is the difference with this message. It's a radical message. There isn't an us that has something in us. There is only what is.
Okay. Okay, Tony, you just said that there is no I, no you. It's an illusion, you said?
Yes, I can't say there is no I or you, because that sounds as though it doesn't exist.
Okay.
But the arising of the sense of a self or being a separate individual is illusory. In the problem for the individual is that they think it's real. That's the illusion. The illusion for the individual is that they think they are a real person. So what the open secret tries to communicate is that the sense of being a real person is both real and unreal. It has no substantiation. So you could call it illusory in that way.
So knowing that now, is it going to change my life?
No, you won't ever know that there's no you. What the open secret is pointing to is the possibility that the illusion of you being someone, of the illusion of the me, simply can collapse, and there is nothing left that knows that it's collapsed. There's just nothing left but what is. That's a so-called liberation. It's the end of the illusion that there is a separate me. But there's nothing that knows that. It just is over, and then there's nothing left but what is. This is a radical message which can't be understood.
Okay. How come you understood that?
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's just a communication. There isn't anything here that understands it. And I know you're puzzled, but that's, I'm afraid, what it is. It's a communication about something that can't be known by me. The problem for me is it wants to search so that it can know something and attain something and grasp it for itself.
Yeah.
And that activity is completely and utterly futile. Because what the me is looking for, the me lives in a finite reality, and what it's looking for is the infinite. And it can't find or grasp the infinite or know it. When that energy of seeking, when the energy of me suddenly collapses, all there is the infinite.
Is the what?
Is the infinite, is beingness, is freedom. But there's nobody in that.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the scary part, isn't it?
No, that's the scary. Me is really frightened and rejects this message, because the only way me can go on existing is by knowing that it is real, or dreaming that it is real. Me lives in a dream called I am real. And it also then thinks that me can find enlightenment or fulfillment. It never will. Because actually it longs for its own absence, which is what liberation is.
Okay.
But the only problem with that is that when liberation happens, there isn't anything there or anyone there that then knows that.
Right. Which is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. This is a crazy message.
Okay. How did you get to that message yourself?
Died. I didn't get to it. Tony Parsons was a me who thought he was real, and he was looking for something else called enlightenment, which he thought was real, and then that whole energy of me or Tony Parsons, whatever you like, suddenly wasn't there anymore. It just vanished. And there was nothing left but life. All that was left was aliveness. For no one.
Is that a feeling you have?
No, there's not a feeling, it's just life.
It's a knowing.
Feelings, warmth, sitting on a chair is just what's happening. There isn't anything it's happening to. It's just happening.
Okay, but you still have this I in you.
No, I don't have an I, no. The I that was there is lost, it's vanished. It never was there. The illusion of there being an I is no more. There's a brain that functions and walks through doors and eats dinner, but there's no identity here.
Okay, so don't you think lots of people look for this? What you achieved? This no identity?
The me would like to think that it could achieve liberation, but it never can.
But
it
you
can't be
achieved
achieved. No, I didn't achieve it. That's the point. I tried to achieve it, and then the I that was trying to achieve it died.
Okay, so I want to achieve this I dying.
Well, you can't. The problem is the me can't dispel itself. An illusion can't dispel itself. The illusion can't make itself die. The illusion, me, doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to hear this message.
Okay, so how come it happened to you?
It didn't happen to me. This is the
I don't get it.
No, nobody gets it.
Okay.
The paradox is that there never was a me seeking enlightenment. It was an illusion. Me is an illusion.
Okay.
Suddenly that illusion collapses, but nobody does it. It just collapses. And the natural reality is what then arises. The natural reality of there just being aliveness. which me can't comprehend at all. Me doesn't understand this message. And all that's left is aliveness, warmth, sound of voices, sitting on a chair.
What people call living in the now.
Well, some people call it living in the now, but I never would, because there is no such thing as now. This is timeless. It's not now, which means that it's before and after.
Okay.
This is not now.
Is there only a now if there is
No,
an
there's no
I?
now. The whole idea of being here now is another absurd story in the story of me. It has no.
It's another
relevance.
illusion?
It has no connection with what we're talking about here.
Okay.
So it's not. This is not about living in the moment, living in the now, finding your own true nature. It's about the end of that which wants an answer.
Okay. So how do you know all that?
I don't know anything. There's nothing left that knows anything. All there is life happening, and there's someone sitting there asking, how do you know that? And what comes out is just a response from nowhere. The response coming out right now is coming out of nothing. It's not coming out of a knower or something that is aware or conscious. It just comes out of nothing.
Okay, but it seems to me that, you know, you had kind of a path like this, who's called Tony Parson path.
In the illusion of me,
Yes.
me thought there was a path.
Yeah, so and then you got suddenly to that point where everything
Collapses, including the idea of a path.
did it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was quite obvious
But
that
you
there was
said-
no seeker and no path. How can there be a path to what already is this?
Okay, but it seems like you achieved something, even though you say there's nothing.
Well, of course I didn't achieve anything because I, Tony Parsons, collapsed or died. So how could that be an achievement? It was the end of Tony Parsons.
Okay.
And the end of the idea that the dualistic idea that
Okay.
there's someone who can move along a path to
Okay.
find something else called enlightenment.
Okay, so how is it for you living, not being there anymore?
So it isn't any way for me. There is no me. All there is what is.
Say that again.
There isn't a particular way that this is for anyone or anything, because there isn't anything left for it to be
Okay.
like that. All there is what is, which is indescribable.
Okay, so you're saying there's no feeling anymore?
Feelings arise, sitting on a chair arises, looking at that face arises.
Okay.
It's what's happening, but it's not happening for anyone anymore. The
Okay.
illusion that that face is arising for something in here has completely collapsed. And also the illusion that this is aware of that face or knows that face also collapses.
Okay.
There just is that face.
Okay. Okay. But you still have emotions.
There isn't anyone that has
You.
anything. What
Yeah,
you're
okay.
doing is projecting the idea of a person being here on this. There is no story, no one has emotions, but emotions happen.
Okay, but in my illusion, there's somebody there who still has emotions,
Of course.
feelings,
Yeah.
a life.
That's an illusion. The illusion you have there is that there's someone here who is real, who has things. Me is the great big sticky lump that takes ownership of everything, including emotions, wives, houses, enlightenment and everything. There is nothing that owns anything. There is only beingness. All there is here is beingness. Nobody has it. Nobody doesn't have it. It's just what it is.
Okay. Why do you give talks then?
Well, I don't give talks. There's nobody sitting here and there's nobody going to be in there giving talks. There's just a response to apparent seekers asking questions, and that response comes out of no thing.
And those seekers want to be in your position.
They do and they don't. In a way, the seeker, the me, doesn't want to die. It wants to continue. What it wants, what it comes to find, is an answer so that it can continue to live with a formula for life. It's looking for a formula. There aren't any. There aren't any formulas. All there is life.
Okay.
Teachers, there are so-called non-dual teachers, and teachers attempt to help people get a formula or a way of living. The Open Secret absolutely doesn't recognise that there is anyone to to find a formula or a way of living. There isn't anyone, so there's no formula. There's just living. This is totally radical and very rare. But if you could say that there was a history of seeking and communication, this message has always been around, but it's always been very hidden. It's hidden. It's only available if there's an openness and readiness to go beyond the sense of self wanting something.
Yeah, and the most scary thing is that there is nothing there anymore.
No, it is scary. Yeah. There's nothing. This is nothing appearing as this.
Yeah, so that is kind of very confusing.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's say I'm still in this illusion of my I, Sabina. I kind of intellectually understand what you're saying.
Never.
No.
Never.
You would say no.
Clarity about this is not liberation, it's just another way of seeing things. For me can be very clear about what's being communicated.
Yeah.
I know lots of people who come to my meetings who could write this down, but that is clarity about this message. It's not freedom. It's only understanding the sense of this message. It's not the end of the seeking.
The end of the seeking?
Yeah, clarity is not anything other than something that the seeker now owns. But liberation doesn't happen through clarity. Separation is an energy. It's not a thought or belief or an idea. So you can't come to enlightenment through thinking or ideas or beliefs. Separation is a contracted energy. And liberation is simply the melting of that energy back into the whole. Apparently. Apparently.
Does it happen by itself?
You could say it happens by itself, but the other awful part of this message is that when suddenly the illusion of me drops away, it is recognised that there never was a me, and there never was contracted energy, and there is no such thing as a seeker or liberation or an energetic shift. It's only a way of describing it, but actually it doesn't happen.
So everybody who says who's enlightened is then probably not enlightened.
I wouldn't like to say it either way. If somebody says they're enlightened, it's obvious that they aren't. Because
they
there's
have an
nothing
eye.
here that could be enlightened. Nobody becomes enlightened.
Okay.
The idea of non-duality is primarily a negation of something else going on, which is the two-ness, which is, Paul and Tyler, and Paul and Nick, and seer, seen, and high and low, and this and that. Yes, so there's an activity that, if you looked at it as tides, it has high and low tides. Yeah, so the high comes up, then the low, and then the high. So you're feeling really good, and someone will say, I'm sorry, because you're going to feel bad soon. Or you're feeling really bad, and they go, congratulations, you're going to feel good soon. Because there's this thing, it's just called duality in a sense. It's not a thing, but it's a movement. and then we are the center of that, and you could speak of it as dualism, which is subject-objectness. So there's an object that's being seen as the subject. Yeah, the mental state sees the object as the subject, and so there's a great Zen master, Huang Po, that tried to make it very clear. He said, whatever can be perceived. So let's say if we were in a live place, I would be perceiving Tyler and Nick and Dylan and Judith. Yes. So whatever can be, so I'd be perceiving you. And he would say, whatever can be perceived, which is Tyler, Paul, Nick, cannot be that which is perceiving. Yeah, very clear. Yeah. And not just to leave it like that, bring it into the head and see that the head's whole narrative is based exactly on an opposite idea. And that is the perceived, the body is what's perceiving. Yeah. So it's fundamentally pretty opposite, yeah, in a way. So non-duality isn't speaking about a place or a thing. It's speaking to itself in a way. Yeah. And that aspect of us as non-duality seems to be taking ourselves to be a thing and a place. Yeah. So there's a negation of the thing and the place, and then there's a finding out, which doesn't take any time because you are what you're looking for. There's like an immediate whack that's that. Yeah. Now, the habit of taking yourself to be an object and a subject may kick in, but after a while, the hand doesn't need the glove to not to appear to be the hand. Yeah. So the hand doesn't need the glove to disappear to be the hand. There can be a hand and then there's an appearance of a glove. Yeah. Even though the mental state says the hand is the glove, you can have the aspect of, just like we were talking about last week, about when I saw this guy, Ramesh Balsekar, he was talking about this personal presence. There's no personal presence, but he was speaking of Paul as a personal presence and then the impersonal presence. And he used the example of, Paul, do you have a place to live? And I do. And I did at the time. And he says, all right, when you go to work, do you forget that you have a place to live? When you're at work, do you have to constantly remember you have a place to live? Or is there a certain knowledge that you have a place to live that doesn't need to be remembered or pointed at all day or vigilantly observed? You have a house, yeah? While you're at work, you have a sense that you have a house. Going to work doesn't negate the house or doesn't make the house disappear. So this idea of Paul as an impersonal or as a personal presence is an appearance in the impersonal presence. Yeah. So this is much more. It's much more comprehensive than a house and a job, because it looks like you leave the house to go to the job. In this case, there's none of that. Yeah. Yeah. The job is appearing in the house, so to speak. Yes, everything that seems to take us from where we are is an appearance in where we are. Yeah. So this is the beauty. This is how a relief combined with an assurance, yeah, that really is different than a relief that is a reaction to a tenseness or a pressure. Yeah. That this is not a relief of a pressure. This is relief and assurance. Yeah. It becomes, in the Course in Miracles, they call it, I think, the quiet center, or in recovery, we call it the innermost or the unsuspected resource. But in fact, so while this whole activity of the action figure living a day in the life of an action figure is going on, there is not a need to remember what you are, because you are that. Yeah. Its assurance sort of percolates as you live the day. Yeah. And the relief is sort of the assurance and the relief sort of go hand in hand. Like one's an essence, and then there's the smell of the essence. Yeah. So this is sort of the message, and it doesn't come about by anything you do. It's a seeing that you're not the doer. Yeah, that's really how it starts to get established, because all these ideas of being the noun, the thinker, the doer, the feeler, the seer, the taster, the toucher, all that continues to be presented. The story is presented in the same noun verb way, but there's a great assurance and relief that you're not the noun. Yes? Yeah. You don't have to say you're not the noun all the day. You're just not the noun. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. In recovery, we call it, there's a state that's very important in recovery from alcohol and addiction, which is being convinced. This is sort of like that. You hear the message, and hopefully the message triggers like a echo or an unspoken yes. And then there's a feeling that this knowledge is before all other knowledge. And there's a point where there's a being convinced. Yeah. Yeah. Or let's say you could say convinced of being. Yeah, you're convinced of being instead of the doer, the thinker, the hearer, the helper. You're the being. Yeah, that is the context of all these activities. Yeah, and it provides a lot of benefits, and for the ones that are crucial to the action figure really against its own programming travels lighter. Yeah, through the life that it seems to have. And it doesn't mean that everything gets great and nothing happens to bother anyone or anything. It just means whatever life has in store for you as this continuum of experience, you're going to travel lighter through it. And after a short period of time having that effect, you come to a realization, what more do you want as the action figure? The action figure isn't going to transcend anything. It isn't. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to be the body and go up to heaven and play a mini golf course. It's just not, it's not going to happen. So let's, maybe lower the target and then say, hey man, traveling light is pretty damn cool. Yeah. I mean, but it shouldn't mean that I have to go to the hospital. Well, in this way, you didn't have to go to the hospital. The action figure did. So this is what happens. So you can show up for shit you never wanted to show up for because you're not that. Yeah, that's the freedom. And then the Urban Renewal Project and all the forms of slavery, of constantly having to be moved or being moved or moving to some kind of distant goal, whatever it is truly like a slavery, really. You can't stop. It's like you're sentenced to that moving sidewalk at the airport when they have these beautiful displays and you'd like to stop and look at that old radio and you can't. There's rails and you just gotta go. Yeah, but I want to see that antique fucking car. No, you just go. Yeah, it's just a constant agitation. Yeah, and it has its guardrails to keep you that way, which is an incredible identification as the action figure. Yeah. So when you think of what you think of what you are as and from the action figure. It's never excluded. Yeah, it's the frame of all information coming in and going out. Yeah. So non-duality is just not two. Find out what two is, and then you arrive at not two. You can't go not two and not have no understanding of two. You need to have the understanding of what two is, and then it's not two. You can't go not two first, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, no way. Not two. What does that mean? Yeah. There's only pepper. There isn't a salt and pepper. You know what I mean? Is a hamburger without a bun? What the hell? What is not two? Yeah. Well, find out in your own experience. Watch. See what's happening. Yeah. There is a perceiving. There's a subjectiveness active. Yet that subjectiveness's activity and its attributes are given over to the body. Yeah. So you got subject body hybrid. So sometimes you're what's being thought about. Yeah. And sometimes you're the thinker. Yeah, it just switches all day. Not two. That's it. Yeah. See it. Come to recognize. And the beauty of non-duality is it doesn't have to do much at all to bring into stark contrast all the misunderstandings that we're resting on. If you just go to satsang and you get and the subpoena's served and you get the further notices, yeah, there's going to be it's going to bring about, like out of the weeds, the misunderstandings, you'll be able to see them. You'll see it. You'll see that your starting point is off. Yeah. Your hope to get the oldest, the most quickest way to get to LA and the map of it doesn't matter if you're in LA. Yeah. You have to believe you're Oklahomer to get excited about going to LA. You're in LA. Yeah. So you are what you're looking for. It doesn't say the seeker and the sought. It says the seeker is the sought. Yeah. This isn't like the seeker and the sought. So the seeker is Paul and the sought is Buddha. Okay. Let's go. That's a lot of presentations is you're the seeker and you, because you're not that, it's not working out being you. So you got to be a better, bigger you. So you look at a past, bigger, better you, let's call it Buddha. And now I'm the seeker and the Buddha is the sought. No, non-duality says the seeker is the sought. Yes.
Welcome to the summit, What is Effortless Wholeness? And I now have the pleasure to introduce you to Andreas Müller. Welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you are all about non-duality, or you help people to know their nature, you could say. You point to it. And that's what we'll also be talking about. And I have read your books. There's the No Thing, Ungraspable Freedom, which is right here. Let's see. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's the first one, actually.
Yeah, that's the first one. And that's an absolutely wonderful book where there's also a lot of questions, answers. And then you also have another book, You Will Never Be Free. And that's also non-duality questions, answers. That one you have right there. Yeah, can you show that again?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. And then you also have Taverna Lentas.
Yeah, that's this one. And that's basically quotes. So the other one is a question and answer book, and these are quotes like that, and pictures.
Yeah, from Greece, yeah. And then you also have a newer one, which you did with Justin Allen, and that's the known point no point perspective.
Absolutely, yes. That was a huge project, and that's also a thick book. It's basically one conversation over half a year with Justin, and it's basically unedited, our conversation. I thought that's a quite interesting project. I mean, it's edited to make it more, to make it readable, but the content isn't edited. So that's a fat one.
Yeah, and I have read all of them, and I absolutely love all of them, because what you express is, well, it's what we are. And what we are is actually nobody or nothing or no one appearing as what is, basically. And it's already wholeness. It's already, we are already, you could say, enlightened or awakened or liberated, but it's not we or I or you who is, because it's not possible for this separate me to be something, because it doesn't even exist in the first place. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, exactly.
Yes.
That's why I think it's sometimes a bit weird, or I wouldn't say like we are enlightened and stuff like that, but wholeness is the natural reality, and that's already the case. Yes, absolutely, totally.
Yeah. So there is nothing to find ever, because you're already what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly. So this whole idea that there is something to be found would be part of an illusion, and that's why it hardly ever works out for the person, because there's just nothing to be found. It's whole already. But that's the thing, there is nothing and no one arriving in that wholeness, experiencing it. Because what it means basically, that there is no I, means that there is no experience of anything.
Yeah. So it's like, it's nothing that's just happening. And
kind of, yeah, one could say so. All there is what apparently happens. I mean, what happens is real and unreal, so to speak. So there isn't a real happening, but yes, all there is what seems to be going on, and that's it. But again, there isn't no one knowing this. This is not a position or a concept. It's just already the case, and it can't be realized, or it doesn't have to be realized.
yeah.
That would be the dream, so to speak, that one day I will be aware of that, or one day I'll arrive in that wholeness and it becomes my personal reality. That's the dream. That will never happen, because it's exactly this person which still wants to find wholeness, which is illusory.
Yes. Yeah, because that person is already whole, but not as a person, but just as what is, like a body and feelings and thoughts and the appearance of the world and life.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I speak of the person, what I mean is this experience that there is something in here, some kind of separate consciousness or separate awareness or stuff like that. I don't mean, when I speak of the person, I don't mean the body or the conditioning or thoughts and feelings. I just mean this sense of, I am now here, having a body, having thoughts, having feelings. This I doesn't exist.
Yeah. So you could say everything as it appears that actually does exist just as it is. There is just no one there experiencing it.
Yes, one could say so. Yes.
And
But in the end, as there is no one experiencing it, what is actually unknowable. It is this sitting in front of a screen and walking around and talking and hearing, but it's not experienced or observed. So no one knows this really.
yeah. Yeah. And also because you do mention the I am. And usually when we think, oh, I am, that's what I am. And the way you talk about the I am seems to be different. And, you know, awareness and consciousness, that's what a lot of us think, oh, okay, I'm not this separate self, but I'm that. I am the awareness. Can you speak about that?
Yes. Well, for me, the experience to be aware or conscious is the me, so to speak. And usually it's what many teachers or people talk about is that I am not my story. I am just pure consciousness, pure I am, so to speak. So I'm not Peter, who is a postman who has this family. I'm just pure I am, and the rest is illusion. My story is the illusion, but I am is the absolute reality. But for me, it turned out that this I am is as illusory as the story. So to me, this would just be another personal experience, basically. Which in the end, I mean, that's not wrong, but in the end, it remains unfulfilling, as every experience is unfulfilling. That's why usually around this I am statement, there's also a teaching attached to it. And for me, liberation would be when this I am turns out to be illusory as well, as not, it's not real. There is no self that's conscious, and there is no self that's aware.
Yeah. And it's just another state, you could say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The moment there is something which seems to know or believes to know itself by experiencing itself, it would say that that's the illusion of separation.
Yes. And there is a subtle experience of awareness. It is like, oh, I'm aware of being aware, or it's like, yeah.
Exactly. And then suddenly immediately you end up with something that you are, and again, some things which you are not. And again, you end up something being real, that which I am, and other things being not real. So it's actually an experience of duality or separation.
Yeah.
And that's basically how the person experiences. I'm me, I'm only me, and everything else is something else, is not me.
Mm.
I'm me and I'm not the table. I'm me and I'm not the room. I am me and I'm not you. And in those awareness teachings, it's the exact same thing. There is something which I truly am, and there's a lot of things which I'm not. My story or whatever.
Yeah. Although there are also quite a few teachings that say, okay, yeah, I am the awareness and I'm not my story, but then yes, I'm both too. Like I'm the awareness and the story, and it is like it's one and the same. So they say, okay, most of us just think we are the story, and But then we get to know, oh, I can observe my story. I cannot be that, but so, you know, I'm both the observer and the story as one. So that sounds very, very non-dual as well, right?
That's true, but I would say that in the end, or my impression is that that's often conceptual, but the actual experience is still somehow in separation. It's just my impression. I mean, within those teachings, they can be quite clever, and I say there's nothing wrong with that, but of course they can come up with all kind of clever explanations to make it sound that it fits again, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my impression, you know. I don't really know who means what exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes it can also be misinterpreted, as it has many times in history.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And oftentimes the me, the separate self, will misunderstand it most times, right? It's because it doesn't understand it. And that's also one of your points in your books, that the separate self, the person we think we are, the me, the I, will never find it, because it will always be looking and seeking, and it cannot be found because it's already it.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course it will hear messages here and there, but it will have that filter. And how does that relate to me? The center point, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for the me is, so to speak, that it's not sitting behind a veil. The problem is for the me that the me itself is the veil. The me is separation. It's not that it does have an experience of separation and can have an experience of unity. No, the sense of I am me, the energetic experience of I am me, means separation.
Yeah.
And that's why, so to speak, wherever the me is, it's already there, experiencing itself as separate. That's why there is no connection to what the me thinks, believes, feels, whatever its story is, of what it believes to have understood already. No, itself is the sense of separation.
Yeah. So whatever that me or I or person does to know its nature, or it cannot do anything to.
Yeah. Yes, it will remain within the dream of separation.
Yeah.
No matter what it understands or feels or becomes aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't bring it back to wholeness.